Season 1, Episode 7. Happy Canada Day! Today, I've got longtime friend, entrepreneur, and totally kick-ass dude, Dallas Paquette, sitting with me. We're hanging out in the Kensington studio talking about the meteoric rise of his new company, Lift Renovations, his kick-ass Martin guitar, higher education choices, and his favorite Canadian artists. He answers it all in a way that only Dallas can, directly and with very little filter. I'm your host, Michael Dean Dargy, Season 1, Episode 7, Build It and Act As If on RebelRebel. So I'm sitting here in Kensington studio with none other than Dallas Paquette from Lift Renovations.
In the flesh.
In the flesh.
In the flesh.
He is here in the studio. We've got some construction happening next door.
Both sides.
Both sides. Yes, it's great. The cat is out in the backyard. Earlier, it brought in a mouse and then let it go in the house. Yeah.
Nice.
So you never know what's going to happen.
Is the mouse still here?
No, we ended up extricating the mouse and relocating it back outside.
Okay.
But you never know. He might come back in with one.
All right. Well,
or a magpie. Who knows?
Podcast with a free side of hantavirus.
That's right. Just a little bit of hantavirus. Just so people know, like I've known you for, oh my God, a fuck ton of years.
Long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
We were in a band together called Hail.
Yes.
With Jose back in the day. And you're a musical genius.
No.
Yeah.
Nonsense.
No, you are the most solid rhythm player I've seen. And had the pleasure of playing with, because you certainly keep me on task.
Yeah.
Which is
well, thank you.
And you, I mean, you've been in the corporate world for pretty much all your career, and then you decide to go out on your own.
Yeah.
And do your own thing.
Yeah.
And you are now the chief
bottle washer.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I am the chief bottle washer
and coffee maker at Lift Renovations.
Yes.
Based out of Calgary.
Yep.
But you guys are in Western Canada.
Yeah, we have we're headquartered here. We have branches in Kelowna, Edmonton, Red Deer, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, and Winnipeg currently.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been around?
The company or me personally? The earth?
Yeah, the company.
The company has been active for about a year. We just celebrated our 1 year anniversary actually in June. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I bring this up. It's a pointed comment because you went from zero to hero in a year.
Yeah.
You basically took a small renovations company like windows and doors and siding.
Yeah.
And you are now across 3 or 4 provinces. Are you in Winnipeg, did you say?
Yeah, so 3 provinces currently, with a noticeable gap in Saskatchewan, which will fix that eventually.
Okay, so the first question I have is how? Like, this is insane. That kind of growth is ridiculous.
Well, it really is a matter of putting together a solution for somebody that is feeling some kind of pain. So we had a small contract when we first started out. We had a small contract with Lowe's.
Okay.
We did the sales and the installation for windows and doors in Edmonton and Calgary. So it was a 10-store operation. Yeah. And we did a good job. We were servicing well. One of my partners has had the contract for a couple of years through a different company. We were doing a reasonable job service-wise. They have lots of different suppliers and installers that they deal with, so we kind of were a shining light. And we had a conversation. They were opening up a new store in Red Deer.
Yeah.
And we sort of had a casual conversation about what expansion would look like and what the world might look like for us to be partners in more areas. And I decided to take a flyer. So at around it was Christmas time, so we operated through most of last year in just those 10 stores. And it was mostly Calgary, very little happening in Edmonton. And I kind of had a harebrained scheme over the Christmas break and through December, January. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put together a 95-store plan. And I'm just going to act as if. And we're going to say...
Holy...
And they said yes. They said, we think your plan is reasonable. We think it's measured. We think that you can succeed. We think that we can succeed together. So let's do that. So we kind of put together a multi-year phase-out plan, roll-out plan, I guess.
Yeah.
And we're kind of at the end of like month 6, really, you know, for all intents and purposes. I think
Yeah.
we launched officially in February 1st in the expansion, so now we're taking on some more territory and also some stores under the Rona banner, which Lowe's bought some years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
That's got to be stressful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Like that kind of like what do you? It's not a hockey stick, right? It's a vertical ascent.
it's a power pole. Yeah, is what it is. And hopefully hopefully we get some Delta X eventually, but it's basically vertical now. And you know, I've been in this industry and have run multi cities, multi regions for a long time in the corporate world. This is where I come from, so I have contacts in probably 10 U.S. cities and every major Canadian city. I got a guy. I got a guy. So it's just a matter of now dialing back into those networks, finding out who's still standing, who's around, who can help, who can't, who's a good fit. It's lots of conversations and lots of, you know, faith in each other that we can ride out the first couple of months and get to the glory land afterwards. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Take me through that process of deciding to just go for it. Like you're sitting there on this business that's, you know, doing well. It's probably not super stressful, but you know, so you decided over a Christmas break to blow this thing up.
Well, it came to the realization. So I had worked in corporate land for quite a long time, and yeah, for most of my career, a couple little dabbles here and there. But you know, I'm a corporate guy.
Yeah,
sold my soul to many corporations, and I got out of it for a reason. And then I realized one day that, you know, what are we doing here? I left that stable job for this kind of stable job, and we're just sort of doing a thing, and we're providing good service. But, you know, I'm doing this because I want to grow, and I want to have sort of, I don't know how to explain it. We're looking for a legacy, and we're looking for some dollars. We need to scale it. And I just thought to myself, why are we limiting ourselves? We need to just throw them out of the wall. We want to be big. We want to be rich. We want to. So that's just decided to take a flyer. Yeah.
So what part of your day, if any, is consumed with doubt, crippling doubt?
Doubt it consumes 23 and 11/12 of an hour, or 11, 23, 24ths of an hour. Like it's fear and doubt every second of every day. Every stimulus. So this is when you get yourself to that breaking point. Every new stimulus that comes into your mind creates this cascade of doubt.
Right.
You know, I got a bill for $385 from my business card guy, which just, you know, happens to be the best marketer on the face of the planet. And
he's got to adjust that to deal with shipping now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I go, and then it causes this train reaction. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. What's about this? What about this? What about this? And every stimuli, no matter how big, no matter how small, has to go through this whole business filter now.
Wow.
As opposed to just my little part of the empire.
Right.
You know, I'm used to. I was one employee of 9,000 in the company that I came from.
Oh.
One of the largest manufacturers building products in the world. And, you know, not only was there a guy or a lady to
deal with that stuff.
Right. There was 100 to deal with that stuff.
Right.
You know, there was somebody to deal with the A's through D's and somebody to deal with the E's through G's. And you know, now I've got to take time from scrubbing the toilet, which is not, by the way, entrepreneur myth. Somebody's got to do that.
Yeah,
shit.
it's real.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And men are gross. Anyway, you just have to adjust constantly to all of these stimuli, all the stimulus coming in.
Yeah.
So back to the question you asked. Doubt consumes my day. Now, small, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because it's not crippling fear, doubt on the long term. I have no doubt that our business is going to succeed.
Yeah.
It has to succeed. This is we have families riding on this. Like this, it's going to succeed, and it is succeeding.
Yeah.
But it's the day-to-day doubt. Like, so long term, no doubt. I have no doubt.
Right.
That our vision is
solid.
The
path
beautiful.
is clear.
We have, the dreams are reasonable and beautiful in every way.
Yeah.
But the day to day, the every time I make payroll,
yes,
exactly. There's a little victory, but so that's doubt is a big part of it, which is rare for me actually. I'm really kind of a You grow up in a corporation, and you don't ever. It sounds real. Makes me sound like a cocksucker, but I've never really failed.
Right.
I've failed in small bits, and I've maybe not capitalized on this, or maybe didn't extend things as far as I could have, but I've never had anything come around my ears,
Yeah, and now it's literally up to you.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything, yeah. So, it's interesting.
So, in this new reality, how much do you love this? Like, does this feed your, does this scratch an itch? Like having all this responsibility and the fact that it rests on your shoulders, and you've built this thing and it's skyrocketing, like it's insane.
There's two answers to that question.
Okay.
The day the like I have to order windows today, and I got to make payroll, and I've got to clean the toilet, and I've got to pay the marketing guy, and I've got to pay the bills, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that. I hate the work. I hate it.
Right.
Scratches no itches. It just...
It's the minutia. It's just got to get done.
And it's completely counter the way my brain works.
Right.
Like,
You put together a 95-store plan. You figure out the trajectory of a business for 5 years. You see the future.
Correct. And I hate routine. I hate when things become... Yes.
Yeah.
Hate it. So the day-to-day tactical Dallas hates his life in every way possible. Hate it. The strategic, cockles of my heart, metaphysical Dallas, loves life in every way.
Right.
I love the vision. I love the fact that I get to tell people that I'm doing my own thing, and how successful we are, and how big we've gotten, and how exciting the plan is. So it's like those. It's like two sides of the same coin. It's just picking the situation in which.
Right.
Yeah.
So do you have a plan to get a guy to basically backfill? I
do. So I have the unique part about our business is that there's 4 partners. Yeah. I have 3 partners, equal partners.
Yeah.
And we were very aware. We made that decision very consciously to say we don't individually want to do all of this work.
Right.
And we don't individually want to be experts in all of these fields.
Yeah.
So we've now gotten ourselves to a point where we have sort of 4 functional partners that are each kind of taking care of a portion of the business. So that helps a lot. So that's kind of the first part of the guy. And I've got some other guys, and we've got a good team. We've got good installers and project managers, and but that's kind of the plan, is we want to get people that are yoked to the business, that are all feeling some portion of the same pain that I'm feeling, because then we're all, and get it all figured out, get the processes figured out, and then we can think really big.
Yeah.
We can think.
You can think really big.
We can think really big. We can think 1,200 stores. We can think expansion to other brands. We can think about all sorts of other things when it comes to that. So
that breaks my brain that it can be bigger than what it is, because I'm seeing the rise, the meteoric rise of what you've created in such a short time frame, and to know that it's going to get bigger still. I love it.
Hope so. That's the dream, but maybe there's a ceiling somewhere there. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
It's hard to tell.
Man, you're perfect for this podcast, because it's about creative rebels and entrepreneurs, people that just do things differently.
Yeah.
Because fuck you, business. I'm going to do it this way.
Totally.
which really is, speaks to you in a nutshell. What piece of advice would you give, I don't know, 2 years ago, Dallas? You're in the corporate world then. You're thinking you got an itch. Now that you're this far along, what would you say to him?
I would say, make a plan on how you're going to manage the stress. Because, I've had a business plan for this business in my back pocket for my whole career.
Right.
Like, I know I can write down from, there's a 75-step process that gets a customer from the first phone call to the happy referral. There's no guesswork in the operations of my business. It's the business I've always run.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe some technology changes and maybe some slight tweaks here and there, but really the core of the process is the same. And I think that 2 year ago, Dallas was really focused on that.
Yeah.
And dreaming about how I can process it and how the business was going to run.
Yeah.
But really,
the mechanics of it.
Exactly. And I think that's something that people really fall into that rut as entrepreneurs, as they think a little bit too much about operations. Yeah, you got to pay the bills.
Sure.
But I didn't have a strategy for how I was going to have balance. I never even thought about that.
Right.
I thought, what do you mean balance? I always had balance. Why? Nothing. I didn't have any plan for coaching. I didn't have any plan for advisors. I left this big nest of ducklings or whatever we were.
Yeah.
Lemmings. Some sort of docile, animal. But I had a great buddy next door and then 2 offices down. And,
sure, you got a network.
I got a network of people that were all tied together. So I didn't plan for any of that. And that's the one thing I would say is don't worry about the business. The business will take care of itself, and the requirements of the customers will dictate how you run the business.
Yeah.
But there's nobody but me that can work on me.
Right.
Right? So that's what I would say is any entrepreneur, take the time before you go or carve the time out while you're in it to carve time out to create time for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how are you finding that now?
It's been really hard. I will say, to put a plug out for Fight Night YYC.
Yeah. GoFightClub.com.
Fantastic. There's an eye-opening experience there for me, or an aha moment when I realized that there is a whole community of entrepreneurs that are feeling the same way.
Right.
So I'm fine. So recently, I've had sort of the rock of my brain lifted up a little bit and a little bit of sunshine put in there, because it forces you to think about those things.
Right.
Just even I have not successfully connected with any of the people from Fight Night YYC.
Oh, okay.
It's just the memory of the evening that has kind of shone some light into my brain.
Yeah.
It's just nice to know that other people are feeling that way, and I have this network, and I will slowly begin to reach out, I think, over the next couple of weeks.
Is it a matter of time? Is it like just headspace? You've got to clear that. You probably are running from the time that you get up in the morning to the time you collapse.
Yes.
If you're anything like myself.
For sure. And it takes some courage to, I don't know, courage is the wrong word, kind of a dicky thing to say, I guess, but you have to be able to put a stop, pump the brakes in the middle of the day and say, I'm going to do this other thing.
Right.
Right. And this is one of those things.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I have absolutely no fucking time for this podcast. Zero. I've received 76 emails since I started this.
Me too, plus 3 phone calls.
Exactly. My phone's buzzing. I'm losing my train of thought. But you just have to. You just have to, because you know what happens is, yesterday we had an all-day meeting with my partners, and we stacked our phones up in the middle of it, because we're all the same way.
Right.
We're all sales calls and installers and flat tires and batteries are dead and customers are screaming. We just said, you know what? If today was a snow day, or my phone was broken, or I was deathly ill, nobody would be calling. I wouldn't be calling anybody. So we just stacked our phones up in the middle of the table and had a day-long meeting.
Wow.
and just said, we know we're ignoring all of these strategic things.
Yeah.
And that was partly the advice I got from my fight night mentors, the coaches or whatever, judges.
Yeah.
Mentors,
coaches, yeah.
Whatever. Is to say, what's your management team doing? What are your partners doing? Where are you getting a chance to offload these things?
Yeah.
So that was part of it. So, slowly, but you just have to say, stop. Here's a part in your day where you have to do something different.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Now, did you guys, obviously you took a break. Did everybody dive for their phones and break and deal with the work like in the time that they had? And then put the phone back? Before urinating, which is the odd thing, right? So or while urinating.
Right? Absolutely. Which is a bad habit, by the way. Which one I'm in that habit. Anyways, everybody's diving and we'd hear the buzzing.
Oh, it must make you twitch, right?
Everybody's like, ugh. So one of the things we addressed, we had about 15 agenda items. And we were like, tie ourselves to our chairs with a belt, getting it through these 15 things before the end of the day. Yeah. No ifs, ands, or buts. There were some issues that we need to address. And one of the biggest takeaways that we all took from the day was a communications guideline. So this is a bit off on a tangent. But technology has changed the way that we communicate and the way that we expect communication to be.
Yeah. As
workers, as entrepreneurs, as husbands and fathers, as friends, as everything.
Yeah.
And how instant communication is. Like when I started in this business, and I'm not old, I'm 38 years old, right? I'm not 58 years old or 68 years old. I'm not, thinking back to, but when I started in the business, we didn't have external email.
Yep.
We wrote orders on 2-part forms, and they were manually typed into a computer system by a typing tool. This is in the 90s.
Wow.
Right? We had phones. We had an internal sort of messaging system, which you had no wireless connectivity. No streaming music, nothing. There was this delayed gratification for everything that took place then, and I think that I was still thinking we were running our business in 2 different ways, with like our foot in the old world and our foot in the new world.
Yeah.
So we sat down. So anyways, it creates this anxiety, these text messages and this phone, because you get all the stimulus and it's so easy for people to send and receive information,
right,
that you end up getting yourself really worked up for nothing sometimes.
Right.
Because it doesn't allow you. One of the biggest things an entrepreneur needs to do is to prioritize and manage tasks. Work on the right pile first.
Yeah.
Don't
get distracted by it.
Exactly, and don't try to get to the bottom of every damn stack.
Yeah.
Because then you're just jumping from fire to fire. Then, like, how do you manage it? And take a bit off this one, and a bit off of this one, and a bit off of this one.
Yeah.
But the way that we communicate, it makes these flare-ups that we have to go after and get. So one of the biggest things for our meeting yesterday was a communication guideline. To say, like, if you call after hours, it better be important enough that you call and don't wait till tomorrow.
Right.
Right? Or they can't wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is how fast we expect a text message answered. This is how fast we expect a phone call returned, an email, these kinds of things. It sounds a little pedestrian.
Not if you're being besieged like at every turn.
Right.
Right. I think having a communication strategy is key to creating a brand that's going to last.
Totally. Yeah. And for our people, because
well, that's what I mean. Like, because your people are like intrinsic part of your brand, and they're the people that carry your brand forth.
Yeah, absolutely. And how we communicate with all of our customers, and because the reason that the biggest anecdote that I can think of for this is I was in the hotel room. So we've got a big business in Edmonton right now, really, really busy in Edmonton.
Yeah.
So me and one of my partners have been traveling to Edmonton for 2-3 days a week over the last couple of months to service customers and just generally try and get the business off the ground there. So I'm sitting in a hotel room one night. It's 10 o'clock. I've got a bunch of little kids at home, right? 3 little kids.
Yeah.
So I'm used to what my wife and I call running the gauntlet after supper,
right.
bedtime,
Bath times,
shower,
yeah.
meal, read stories, all this. So I'm, hotel is actually kind of nice because you can just sit down and
Sure.
order a pizza and a 6-pack and sit and work.
Yeah.
And work and work and work and work and work. I love to work. But it's 10 o'clock at night, and something comes up which is quite important. There's an important bit of information that came through the email. So I sent an email and some text to somebody in the company, one of my partners, and waited 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. This is 10:20 at night or 10:30 or 11 or whatever. Didn't get an answer. Finally went to bed at 12, anxious because I hadn't gotten an answer.
Yeah.
And woke up at 6. I wake up at 6. That's my routine. I try to keep my sleep in a pattern where my body falls apart. So I wake up at 6. I wake up, shower, have a cup of coffee in the hotel room, and instantly I'm checking my phone. Why hasn't he answered? This is really important. Doesn't he know how important this is? Doesn't he know that I need this?
Yeah.
I told him I needed it, and I got myself into a fever pitch.
Yeah, frothy and...
I was so mad.
Wow.
I was so mad. And then I call another partner, and I get him mad.
Yeah.
And I call one of our PMs, and I get them mad. And all of a sudden, we're all mad. Everybody's mad. And this guy is just having fucking eggs. Like, it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and he hasn't checked his emails yet. And, it was an important matter.
Yeah.
And it was important that he get it.
Yeah.
And he did get it, and he answered. And then he said, after all the smoke had cleared, he says, "Give your head a shake. What are you... You sent it to me at 10:20 or whatever time it was."
Yeah.
I answered it not in 10 business hours or 4 business hours, but in -6 business hours. Like, I answered it before work even started.
Right.
But the whole world has trained me and trained all of us to expect these answers on our own time.
Sure. But I mean, they're partners too. So I think the expectation is that you're all in this together 24/7. You got my back, I got your back, don't fuck it up.
For sure. But that was why, that was a big element of what we were talking about.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely nothing that needed to be done at 10:20 at night.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing was actually happening.
Yeah.
Like, I could have answered at 10:20 the next night, and it still would have been pretty fast.
You're right.
Response.
Yeah.
But, and I'm going to ramble through this, and it may not make any sense. We might have to, I don't even know, cut this whole segment out. But I have this theory about how communication works.
Yeah.
And about now. And how it works now with email and text messaging is it's leave it and dump it. We've taken responsibility away from ourselves to have to follow up with things that belong to us. So let's just say, hypothetically, I have to order windows. Right? For Joe Smith's house. Yep. Joe Smith needs windows. We sold them. It goes through all the process, and it comes to my desk. I've got to order these windows from the manufacturer. I send an email to them. I have a question about it. I send an email to the sales rep and say, "Hey, did you want this in yellow or in pink?"
Right.
And then I absolutely absolve myself of responsibility because I've given it to somebody else.
Right.
It's not my job anymore.
You're waiting for it to come, the feedback loop to come back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I haven't given... It's still my job to order those windows. Right? What we've done with text messaging and emailing and all these things, voicemails, is that we've taken a portion of our work and we've tried to offload it onto somebody else, and they haven't agreed to take the responsibility for that thing from you.
Right. Okay. Explain this a little bit more. So I'm hearing that Joe Smith, whatever his name is, orders windows from you.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to go install some windows.
Right.
You've got to get those windows from a manufacturer.
Yes.
You call the manufacturer's sales rep.
No, sorry. I call all our sales rep.
Oh, okay.
Like the person who sold the windows to Joe Smith, like the sales rep that works for me.
Oh, gotcha. So you need to find out what color that you need to order.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I'm waiting for this. You got to give me this information.
Right.
Employee man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. But he has not, I guess, even acknowledged that he got the email. And I'm mad at him because I'm waiting for him to order this thing, but I'm not. He hasn't even. I don't know how to explain that. He hasn't agreed to take on that task yet.
Right,
So,
but he's your sales guy.
yeah, and that's why maybe it's a bad example, and maybe you can scrub this and I'll start over. But
I think I get where you're going. That
Yeah.
the idea is that, let's not use somebody in your company. Let's use, somebody somewhere else.
Totally.
Like me. for
That's right,
example.
yeah.
Like you need business cards.
Right.
You send the shit off to me, and it is then my job to go make the business cards happen, bring them back to you, and all the rest of it.
Exactly.
Now, in this case, this relationship that we have, I agree that when you send me that stuff,
Right.
I will do it for you because that's what our business relationship is.
Right.
Right. But there's other people that you can fire shit off to and forget about, assuming that they're going to look after it when it's not really their responsibility.
Exactly. I've just because I've sent it electronically,
Yeah.
I assume that they have it and they've taken the responsibility for it. But it's not their responsibility. It's still mine.
Yeah.
And your analogy is perfect, actually, with the business cards. There's a need in my company for a new employee to have business cards. Me sending you an email asking you to give me business cards does not absolve me of my responsibility to provide business cards for my guy.
Right.
But the way that we communicate electronically makes me feel like it does.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
I send it on, I forward it, I CC somebody, I say, your problem.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to do because there's no feedback.
Right.
Right? If I were to have to call you and say, I need those business cards and I need them by 6 o'clock tomorrow,
Right.
you could say, no,
Right.
I'm going to get them by Wednesday.
This is when it can be done.
Right? But if I were to send you an email and say I need them by 6 o'clock tomorrow, well, it's perfectly reasonable for you not to even read your email until 6 o'clock tomorrow, and yet I think you've agreed because I've asked.
And so let me ask this. Is it, in some cases, a form of bullying? Like when you just send these unreasonable demands out, and I'm not saying that you do, but I like that we just do this. We're just like, hey, need this by then. Boom, send it out without any consultation. We're skipping steps in the communications process.
I think maybe narcissism is the better word than bullying. Maybe.
Yeah, okay.
I get what you're saying, but yes, you're absolutely. That's the gist of it.
Yeah.
You're basically saying that whatever it is that you're doing right now needs to be subservient to what I need you to do right now.
Right.
Right. And the way that we communicate now is made that so bad. It's just amplified that. Everybody wants that. We are a survival of the fittest species. We are absolutely hardwired to take care of our own interests first.
Yeah.
Right. But the way that we communicate just makes that so much worse. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. So you had this. Now you've got a communication strategy for your company.
Yes.
Just to tie it
Yes.
in a nice little bow.
Thank you.
You had a management meeting,
Yep.
or directors meeting, whatever it was,
Yep.
on Monday. You put your phones away.
Yes.
You dealt with your shit in the breaks, and probably right after.
Yep.
You guys went back to it and dealt with your stuff. So you got through it.
Yes.
So it is possible to go an hour or 3
Yes.
without actually responding to this infernal thing.
Oh yeah, and it was like my wife asked me last night how it went.
Yeah.
It was like I had birthed a baby. Like I felt so good because there was just a couple of tweaks, and that I really crave that personal interaction with people too. That's the other thing about being an entrepreneur, by the way, that really sucks, is that entrepreneurs generally don't have. We've got a kind of a little dungeon office that we go to,
Yeah.
but nobody likes to be there because it's a dungeon.
Yeah.
So we work remotely.
Yep.
And we've got operations in Winnipeg. We got a guy in Winnipeg, and a guy here, and a guy there, and a gal there. And am I allowed to say gal? You allowed to say gal?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
Seems fair. Guy.
I feel
gal.
like people look at me funny when I say gal. Anyways,
You've got a man here and a woman there.
yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. We don't have to be PC here.
No, okay, that's good. But anyhow, we get separated, just personally separated from each other. So it's nice just to get people together. There's a rhythm to conversation when you're in the room with somebody. There's a biological process that takes place that brings you close to people when you're near them. So that helps.
Cool. So is this something you're going to do on a regular basis? Is it now baked into sort of your business?
Yeah, we've identified that, and part of it's my need. I'm a fairly neurotic person. which I think lots of entrepreneurs are.
Yeah.
Part of it is I don't think my partners have quite the same need to be together as I have, but I need it.
Yeah.
And I need, as kind of the first among equals or the train conductor or whatever I am in the business. It's important to me that I get that view. So we're going to do that weekly. We've actually decided to scale back our operational work by 20% and say we're going to be in the office for one full day a week together.
Wow.
Do our work. Like, it's not like we're going to sit and stare at each other and have this big long meeting every time.
Yeah, right.
But like let's give proper respect to the fact that we've got a big company right now.
Yeah.
And we need to be together.
Yeah. Well, and you might find you just had some kids screaming in the back there.
Yeah, it's good.
Picked up. I wonder if you're going to find, doing that, you're going to find maybe some operational inefficiencies, or find some efficiencies that you can use by working together and filling in gaps and going, oh man, you need to do this instead of that, or how can you help? Can you help me do this because I'm stuck?
Yeah, 100%.
So and that's really smart. That's really good.
Yeah, I think it's so that's a takeaway from it. We're going to try and do a better job of that anyhow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your guitar.
Let me tell you a story about my guitar. So I recently moved.
Yeah.
On top of everything else, why don't we just move? Why don't I just move? Change houses after being in a place for 9 years. I gave, and I have, of course, I've got a crew, and my wife's got a bunch of burly brothers, and I've got lots of people in my life to support me.
Yeah.
So I had an army of people come and help move. But
I didn't get the call.
You didn't get the call. I didn't need you.
Didn't get the call.
I had lots of.
I appreciate that.
I had lots of guys.
I'm there if you need me. But
I know.
I appreciate the call,
yeah.
or the lack of the call.
Yeah, totally. Nobody likes moving. Nobody likes moving.
That's why I'm so glad I got rid of my truck.
Oh, it's the worst. And I am a miserable mover.
Yeah.
I don't like physical labor as a rule. I like to sit and scheme and put my feet up. Anyways, so I had explicit instructions for nobody to touch my electronics and for nobody to touch my guitars.
Yeah.
Right? And I've got a collection of guitars. I'm not a connoisseur, but I've got some guitars.
Yeah.
And as you well know, I have a beautiful Martin acoustic, which is like my dream guitar. This is the guitar that Eric Clapton and Neil Young and,
I'm getting anxious right
and John Mayer play, and it's my baby. It's my fourth child, as you know.
Yeah.
It's beautiful guitar.
Oh yeah.
So I made explicit instructions. Nobody touches this stuff. So I'm tripped. We're in the new place and trip to the truck, back and back and back and forth and back and forth. I look over and I see my Martin guitar on the grass in the front lawn.
What?
In the case still.
Okay, all right.
But there's a $3,500 guitar just sitting on the road in this new house. And so I opened it up. Okay, it's still here. Good. So yeah, it was crazy. It was a crazy moment. And I can't be mad at anybody. Everybody's helping, and somebody had in the back of their truck. They're like, hey, make sure I don't forget this thing. I better put it here. They don't know.
Oh my god.
It's some guy. They don't know what it was. Anyways,
I've got
so
heart palpitations right now.
I know because it's a beaut.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to my guitar. So one thing from a balance perspective that I have not given up in my life is that I put my phone down at 5:30 or 6, supper time. I have supper together at the dinner table with my family. Help clean up, help kids with baths, help all these things, and then sort of re-pick up my work if I need to, which is most often 8, 9 o'clock when the kids are all sort of down. One of my traditions that I've started with my 12-year-old Henry and I've continued all the way through to the little ones is I play guitar for them when they're in the bath.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I can remember working on key songs and my kids remember them.
Wow.
So I remember the song Please 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 by the Smiths.
Yeah.
Well, that was Henry's. So when Henry he remembers that song and working on that song and Neil Young and I can't think of I can't think of the name of the song right now. Anyways, was Stuart as our second,
Yeah.
and now I'm working on some Pearl Jam songs, Feel That Better, and with Agnes, who's our daughter.
That's awesome.
So I just sit there and I can noodle on my guitar and I can work on these things, and it's been really it's therapeutic. The guitar is something that is really, really important to me.
Yeah. I used to play for my kids outside of their bedroom, so the rooms were beside each other.
Right.
So I used to sit sort of, this is back down the house in Okotoks, and I'd just sit there and I'd plunk away for a half hour or so. And I wrote music that I'll sit there and I'll play it even today, and they'll hear it, and it'll take them right back.
Totally.
It's such a great...
It's powerful.
Yeah, it's such a good thing.
I remember, my dad plays, and my brother's an amazing guitar player. Like, he was like a phenom 10-year-old playing in bands.
Wow.
He's a bluegrass player. It's not my jam, but real technically proficient guitar player. And he and my dad used to play guitar when I was a kid. Sunday nights, my dad was home, and they'd sit and play. And same thing. So some of those same songs, really bring back
that's
those
cool.
memories. It's how your brain is wired. So yeah, that's how I'm getting my guitar fixed. I don't get it any other way right now. As you know, and it's difficult to get.
Yeah,
time,
we've tried to get together several times, but both of us are so freaking busy.
It's a tragedy.
It is, but we'll come back to it. It'll happen again.
Life's a long time, my friend.
Yeah.
Life's a long time. Yeah.
Fucking A. So, tell me about university. You're taking a hiatus from that.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you don't have enough time for it, but
yeah,
you were doing some really cool shit.
Yeah, I was. I kind of forget sometimes. So there's a couple other things. So I've been taking. So when my son Henry was born in 2006, I'm not university educated. High school guy, started working in a lumberyard, just kind of have grown into my career, and I didn't like that. I don't like that. I put value in education.
Yeah.
So I enrolled in classes as an unregistered adult mature student when my son was born 12 years ago, and ever since then there's been some forks in the road, but for the most part I've been pursuing a degree in military and diplomatic history at the University of Calgary.
Crazy.
And the University of Calgary is well known for its military history program. One of the best in North America, one of the best in the world. Some really world class scholars. And so I've been kind of plugging away at that, and I had been involved. I was doing an honors program, which is kind of like a little mini master's, based around leadership and military leadership and business leadership, and trying to find some parallels, because leadership there's this fork in the road that occurred in the last 15 years or so in history, which kind of follows the rest of the world when it comes to just sort of political correctness. And back 20 years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago, was all about what they call big man history. Churchill and Stalin and Hitler and these big figures that turn the world, right? These great events. And there's been a real rejection of that in academic history over the last kind of decade, in favor of social history, which is not looking at the big hinges of history, but the little hinges of history, like the pioneer wife and the first workers movements, and trying to get down to this populist level. And I think that that's good. I think that those people need recognition for the work that they've done to create our society, etc. But big things are done by big people.
Yeah.
Right? What would you do without Nellie McClung? What would you do without John A. MacDonald? What would you do without these controversial figures that were flawed and parts of their own time, rebels in their own right, right?
Yeah.
Mavericks, So I'm kind of maybe swimming against the current a little bit, but I think that, like I said, big things are done by big people and big characters and big personalities. And I think in the military context, you think about military units, and Arthur Currie, for example, is a very famous Canadian general in the First World War. He was the first Canadian Corps commander. We were always led by the British.
Yeah.
In World War One, he was the first, and he had an organization that was 100,000 men and women plus strong.
Yeah.
And that's the fight. That's the fighting. That's just the fighting troops. This tail of people, this administrative tail, that's a big organization, and he was the CEO for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
So, what lessons can you learn? What lessons could an entrepreneur learn, or a mid-level manager learn, or a CEO learn, or a clerk learn, or whoever, by how that man led?
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of been the focus of my studies. So I've taken a bit of a break. Taking a couple months off and pick it up again in September.
Oh, good.
Because I want to get the thing done. I want to get my master's and really study it more intently with the purpose of kind of taking it out into the world and teaching entrepreneurs and about what lessons could be learned.
I think that's so valuable.
Yeah, I think there's some pretty neat stuff there. So yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, we're running low on time.
Yeah.
But give me your thoughts on your favorite Quentin Tarantino movie.
Well, my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie has changed recently.
Aha, okay. Interesting.
It was like perpetually Pulp Fiction, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Which was seminal for me. That was, it came out when I was 15 or 16 years old, and it was...
My mom even loved that movie.
Oh, it's a really?
Yeah.
I love your mom. Tell her I said hi. It was brilliant. It was well written, and it was,
Dialogue was great. Everything. The casting was perfect.
It was perfect. The music.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyways, my new favorite Quentin Tarantino movie is Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, okay.
Which, for a couple of reasons. One is Christoph Waltz he's a genius. I think that he's the best actor of this generation. I think he's amazing.
Wow.
I think he's amazing.
That's high praise.
And I'm not a movie guy like you are, so maybe the movie people out there would roll their eyes in magnificent
or
snobby ways, but maybe they would agree. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what I love about Tarantino is he's just so raw.
Yeah.
And he's not afraid of poking fun where fun is required.
Yeah.
And there's political themes in there, and there's sort of some real macabre humor, and I love it. I think it's my favorite right now.
Now, did you just see it, or did you just come back to it?
No, I saw it when it came out. I think my wife and I actually saw it in a theater when it first came out.
Yeah.
But it's my go-to Tarantino movie now.
Nice.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Favorite. We'll end on this. Favorite Canadian artist, and it can be any type of art form. Because you're a big Canadian fan. You love the Canada.
I love the Canada. I'm very proud to be Canadian. What an interesting question, though. I think my favorite Canadian artist is the Tragically Hip.
Nice.
And that seems these days that's a little.
You could call it trite if you didn't know better.
Right. That's the right word. That's exactly the right word. But I remember years ago, I grew up, you and I, when we defined our band style, it was Canadiana Pitfire, I think we called it,
Canadiana Pitfire.
And I have these memories of playing and singing and listening to the Tragically Hip through all of these moments in my life.
Yeah.
From bush parties when I was growing up, and listening to Road Apples when I was a young man and was introduced to it by my brother, and all through these generations. I remember this story. We went on a houseboating trip, and me and my friend Christian, my good friend Christian, where I was 10 or 12 guys of us on this houseboat, and we had our guitars on the beach, and we looked up, and it was in the Shuswap, and we looked up, and there was probably 100 people around us singing at the top of their lungs.
Wow.
Weak Kings. We're trying to play so loud that we're breaking strings, and we're bleeding, and we're singing the same verse over and over and over again. But you can just tell there's something about that band.
It's a Canadian anthem.
It really is, and you can just place that moment Can't you? In any place in Canada, in a Newfie kitchen, or around a fire in Muskoka, or Kananaskis, or
staring into the black hole.
Exactly, exactly, right. So I think that Gord Downey and the other guys, I think that's the voice of my generation for sure. So I think that they're my favorite. They're my favorite. I'm not gonna stop. They're my favorite.
You're not gonna coach it. It's
nope.
All in.
Yeah, all in.
Balls deep.
Balls deep in that statement.
Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thanks so much for coming out and hanging out. And
there's nothing better than talking about oneself for an hour.
Right?
For me, anyways. I love it.
I know. Oh, it's so good. Thanks so much for coming out, Dallas.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Coming up next week, Alison Masnick of the Rivet Collective and what it's all about with social media and marketing that has her and Rivet so stoked about what happens next. Check it out. Next week's episode on Rebel Rebel every Monday.